I've been plagued by sleep paralysis since my early teenage years. I can still remember the first time it happened, an oppressive, surreal feeling of wakefulness, yet unable to move or utter a single sound. Tonight, it's happening again, but it feels different, much more sinister than ever before. The room is filled with a muted darkness, the kind you get when you have just turned off the lights and your eyes are still adjusting. I can see shapes, but they're all just shadows dancing in the periphery of my vision. I want to sit up, maybe turn on the lamp on my nightstand, but my body refuses to cooperate. It feels like I'm encased in concrete, heavy and unbearably static. I can sense something at the foot of my bed. I strain my eyes in that direction and discern a darker shadow against the backdrop of my dimly lit room. It seems to pulsate, like it's somehow alive. My heart thumps loudly against my ribcage. I'm familiar with the hallucinations that can accompany sleep paralysis, but that knowledge does little to ease my terror. It starts to move, slowly, almost hesitantly, but with an aura of menacing deliberation. I can feel my skin prickling, the sensation of unseen eyes raking over my immobilized form. I will my legs to move, kick, anything, but they remain leaden and unresponsive. The figure is closer now, standing beside me. It feels so real, so tangible, that I can almost smell a strange metallic scent, like freshly spilled blood. Its form bends over me and I can feel the weight of its stare. It feels like it's looking into my soul, ripping apart my deepest secrets and fears. The room suddenly grows colder. A chilling breeze brushes against my skin, making me shiver. I want to scream, to cry out for help, but my lips refuse to part. My lungs feel constricted, and it's as if the air in the room has turned to syrup. Then it speaks. Its voice is guttural and low, resonating in the silence of the room. "You're not alone," it hisses, its voice echoing in the stillness. Terror like I've never known floods through me, as cold as the midnight air. I can feel the icy fingers of panic clutching at my heart, squeezing tighter and tighter. I try to tell myself that this isn't real, that it's all just a figment of my sleep-addled mind, but the words ring hollow in my head. And then, as suddenly as it began, it's over. The shadow recedes, the weight lifts, and I can move again. I jerk upright, my heart pounding like a war drum. The room is empty, as normal as it was when I turned off the lights, but the terror remains, a lingering ghost of what has just transpired. I know sleep will not come again tonight, nor many nights thereafter. I'm left in the cold silence of the night, wrestling with the echoing words of the apparition. "You're not alone." Even though I'm free from the paralysis, I feel more trapped than ever. Despite the terrifying ordeal, I eventually fall into an uneasy sleep. When I wake, it's daylight, and the terrors of the night seem like a distant memory. I try to convince myself that it was just a nightmare, just a symptom of my sleep paralysis. But a whisper of doubt lingers, a silent question that chills me to the bone. What if it was more than just a dream? I've always had a complex relationship with sleep, due to my history with sleep paralysis. It's a unique kind of terror, being stuck in your own body, eyes wide open to the horrors of the subconscious mind. Tonight, I lay in my bed, in a house new to me. I recently moved in after accepting a job in this quiet little town. The house is old, beautiful yet replete with creaks and groans that echo through the chilly night. In the dead silence of the night, I awake. I can't move. An old friend, sleep paralysis, has paid me a visit. The moonlight filters through the curtains, casting long, eerie shadows in the corners of the room. My heart thuds painfully against my chest as I try and fail to shake off the familiar, unyielding immobility. As I lay frozen, my eyes catch sight of my closet. It's ajar. That's odd. I always make sure it's closed before I go to bed. Inside, it's pitch black, a stark contrast to the ghostly moonlit room. As I look on helplessly, I see something emerging from the dark recesses of the closet. A woman, draped in white, her face hidden behind long, unkempt hair, glides across my room. Her feet, covered in an ethereal mist, don't touch the ground. She makes no sound, moving silently toward my paralyzed form. She stops just a few feet from my bed, raising a pale hand and pointing a bony finger at me. My blood runs cold as she begins to whisper in an otherworldly voice. "Beware," she murmurs, repeating it over and over like a broken record. As the fear heightens, she moves closer, her whispering getting louder until it's all I can hear. She's at the side of my bed now, her face inches from mine, her cold breath caressing my cheeks. I can see her lips, blue and cracked, moving in an endless loop. Beware. Just when I think I can't bear it any longer, I'm released from the grip of paralysis. I spring up, ready to face the ghostly intruder, but she's gone, vanished into thin air. The room is as I left it before sleep claimed me. Nothing's out of place, except for the closet door. It's wide open now. Exhaustion eventually claims me, dragging me back into the world of dreams, but her whispered warning echoes in my mind. Beware. Days turn into weeks, and every night I am visited by the ghostly apparition. I start fearing sleep, dreading the inevitable encounter. She never does anything more than whisper her warning, but the fear of not knowing what she is warning me about keeps me on edge. I wish I could tell you this story has a resolution, that I found out what she was trying to warn me about, but I didn't. Instead, I am trapped in this relentless cycle of fear, never knowing what awaits me in the darkness of the night, forever locked in a nocturnal face-off with the ghostly woman from my closet. Every night a sleep paralysis, every night a whispered beware. In the world of sleep, nightmares are dreaded, but even nightmares offer the promise of awakening, of escape. Not so with sleep paralysis. It's a unique kind of terror, where the lines of reality and the subconscious blur, trapping you within your own body, conscious but helpless. I moved to an old Victorian house on the outskirts of the city a couple of months ago. It was all charming gables and intricate woodwork, albeit a little worn from time. The house had its quirks, the odd creak of old wood, the whispers of the wind through the rafters. I found it all rather quaint until the episode started. I remember the first night vividly. I woke up, or at least my mind did, to find myself lying on my back, the muted glow of the moon illuminating the room through the sheer curtains. I quickly realized I couldn't move, couldn't speak. An icy dread gripped me as my body refused to obey my commands. It was happening again, sleep paralysis. But something was different this time. There was a strange low humming sound coming from somewhere within the house. It was barely perceptible, a soft, monotonous drone that sent a chill down my spine. Then the shadows in the room started to move. They coalesced in the far corner of the room, twisting and churning, before taking a distinct form. It was a figure, tall and imposing, draped in a cloak of darkness. As the humming grew louder, it started moving towards me, its gait uneven, almost as if it were limping. As it came closer, I could make out more details. Its skin was a pallid gray, stretched taut over sharp, bony features. But its eyes were the most terrifying. They were 2 points of crimson light, burning in the shadowy face, full of a hunger that sent tremors of fear through my immobilized form. It stood at the foot of my bed, the humming sound now a deafening drone. It lifted an elongated skeletal hand and pointed right at me. Then it started to speak. Its voice was a guttural growl, each word like the grinding of stone. "You are mine," it said, the words resonating through the room, etching themselves into my terrified mind. Just as it started to reach out to me, the paralysis lifted, and I bolted upright, the room returning to normalcy in an instant. The humming was gone, and the figure was nowhere to be seen. I was alone in the eerie silence of the night. Despite the horror of that night, it wasn't a one-time incident. Every few nights the figure would visit, each time declaring its claim, "You are mine." The paralysis would trap me, leaving me helpless as I faced the unspeakable terror. I sought help, from therapists, sleep specialists, even a paranormal investigator. But they found nothing unusual, no explanations for the horrifying episodes that plagued my nights. Over time, the line between my waking life and the hellish sleep paralysis began to blur. Every shadow seemed to twist and form into the figure. The low hum became a permanent echo in my ears. The words, "You are mine," were a constant whisper in my mind, turning every moment into a waking nightmare. Now I dread sleep. I fear the darkness and the haunting figure it brings, but I am trapped, caught in a cycle of paralyzing fear, with no escape from the figure that haunts my dreams and thoughts. Each night, I am his captive audience, waiting for the inevitable words, "You are mine."